So an official good morning. I just want you to know that I truly love teaching. If anything, this time apart makes me realize it even more. And I just want to thank you again for supporting the studio, for supporting one another, for showing up for yourself and for your community. And I just want you to know that I certainly feel blessed by each of you being here this morning. So, all right, we're going to start in a comfortable seat. If you have blocks and you want to prop yourself up, that's great. I'm going to come into hero's pose, which is sitting sort of back on the heels, but I have lots of blocks to prop myself up with so that I can really be long in the spine and not think so much about my hips, which tend to be tight and things like that. So use whatever's at your disposal. If sitting up like this for you is not comfortable, feel free to cross your legs or just be as comfortable as you can be in this position. And as always, we'll start with breath work. So let's not overthink it. Let's just start to maybe close the gaze or soften your gaze downward toward the floor a little bit so that you can shut out whatever's happening around you and start to commit to the time that you're going to spend on yourself going forward this morning. And just notice your breath. Feel free to let it be as expansive or as shallow as you want right now. If you feel like it would help you to inhale and breathe your shoulders up by your ears and then sort of let them go, please do. Just make some space for yourself. You've already made time for yourself. Now make some space to settle in. Sort of settle into the pause. That's one of the things I love about practicing yoga. It sort of helps me to pause my everyday life, my everyday thoughts, and to focus inward, to work deeply, to breathe deeply, which I forget to do, honestly. I really do forget to do in everyday life. So if you know Ujjayi breathing, it's a great breath to practice. It's both a cooling and a warming breath. It's a sounding breath. So if you are unaware of Ujjayi breathing, the way you practice it is by inhaling through the nose deeply. And then when you exhale, you sort of constrict the back of the throat and make like a tunnel. And with the mouth closed, breathing past the palate, you create this kind of hissing sound or almost like a steam radiator or the ocean. And one of the translation of Ujjayi breathing is sounding breath. So if you can practice that, great. Otherwise, settle into whatever breath serves you. So we're going to link a little movement to this breath. And what I'd like you to do is imagine your mind as a big canvas. A big canvas or a whiteboard or a chalkboard, whether color appeals to you. And with our hands, we're going to just try to wipe clean the thoughts. We're going to try to sort of breathe them away. So we use one hand at a time. We'll inhale to start circling and exhale to blow it away. And same on the other side. Inhale, circle around, blow it away. So you're going to continue this pranayama. Breathing in and out and just sort of cleaning the slate. So take your time. Don't overthink it, which coincidentally is the focus of our class today. Overthinking, knowing too much. Try not to rush this. I'm sort of rushing through it to show you, but you want it to fill out the breath. And if you can truly imagine that the mind is being sort of cleared, all the little annoyances and thoughts, worries are being swept away. Continue with this. And continue to smooth out the edges of your breath. So I don't know about you, but at this time in my life, it's very easy for me to let my thought life take over. It's very easy for me to sort of get caught up in overthinking, sometimes in worry and anxiety. And when this happens, I lose the gift of being present to whatever I'm participating in. I have a little story for your consideration as you breathe. 2 scientists traveled halfway around the world to ask a Hindu sage what he thought about their theories. When they arrived, he kindly brought them into his garden and poured them tea. Though the 2 small cups were full, the sage kept pouring. Tea kept overflowing, and the scientists politely but awkwardly said, "Your Holiness, the cups can hold no more." The sage stopped pouring and said, "Your minds are like the cups. You know too much. Empty your minds and come back, and then we'll talk." So with the intention of emptying our minds this morning and getting into the body and into the present moment, let's continue to add some movement to breath. So when you're ready, you can open your eyes a bit. We're going to interlock the hands right in front of the chest. As we inhale, we'll flip the palms forward and sweep up. And then as we exhale, we'll sweep through space and interlock again. Inhale, turn and flip, stretch away from you and lift up. Exhale, press through the air. Just one more time like that. Inhale, stretch away and up. Exhale, press down. We'll add on here. Inhale, press away, up, and side bend over to the right. If your shoulders don't enjoy this position, you can split the arms apart, or you can use the right hand to clasp the left wrist. Try to ground down through the left side and arch over to the right. One more big breath. And then lift up, righting the spine. Exhale, press the hands back to the hips. One more time the other way. So you interlock, you inhale, reach forward and up, leaving space around the ears. Exhale, side bend over to the left, rounding down through that right side. Again, making choices that are right for you through the shoulder, but really trying to frame the head with the biceps. Leave a little space between your shoulders and your ears. That stretch all along the right side body. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, press through the air. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, turn to the left and just let the arms fall where they may. Inhale, sweep back up. Exhale, twist to the right. We're going to continue to move through space and breath. Inhaling up in the center. Exhaling to rotate those ribs. Let the shoulders glide down the back. Inhale up. Exhale, gentle twist. Good. Let your gaze fall over the back shoulder each time. Just one more time to each side. Exhale, twist. Inhale, lift. Exhale, twist. And release. Turn the palms up on your lap. And just soften the shoulders down and back. Draw the tail down so you're not arching that low back, but lift the sternum and just feel the length of your spine. Feel like you're growing out of your sits bones, through your side body, up through the tips of the ears, so the neck extends as well. One more breath here. And then gently release. We're going to go into some kneeling sun salutations. So there's sort of a sun salutation prep. So we'll inhale to rise up onto the knees. We'll exhale with strong belly and arms framing the head. We'll fold all the way down to the mat to extended child pose. Reach the arms overhead. Drop the head between the arms and stretch into the upper back, into the hips, into the spine. On the inhale, we'll unwind forward, coming into plank prep. As we exhale, we'll hug the elbows to the spine, lower to the mat with complete control. Inhale, we'll lift the heart just a little bit. Exhale, we'll tuck the belly in toward the spine and come back to child's pose. Let's move through that a few more times. So inhale, pull back through the palms, Sweep up onto the knees. Set the shoulders. Reach the hips away from the fingertips as you fold all the way down to the mat, stretching the arms away from you. On the inhale, line the spine. Come into neutral spine and plank up. Exhale, hug the elbows back toward the ribs as you lower to the mat. Inhale, create lots of space around your collarbones as you hover up to either cobra or a little breaststroke prep. Exhale, hug the navel to the spine, round back. Feel the stretch come into the hips and then inhale, rise onto the knees again. Exhale, reach that tail behind you all the way back as you come down to the mat. Inhale, unwind the spine. Draw the shoulders in and down. Exhale, hug the elbows as you lower with control. Trust your arms. Inhale, lift the heart. Your lifts might be getting bigger, but they might not. Exhale, from the bottom of the spine, shift back to child's pose. We'll try this 2 more times. Inhale, drag the palms back and rise, sweeping through space. Maybe your gaze comes up here. And then exhale. Try to control this reach down to the mat. Take your time. Inhale, unwind from tail through crown, plank prep. Present the heart forward as you bend the elbows and lower to the mat. Exhale. Inhale, lift. Stretch those collarbones and exhale. Back to child pose. Last time through. Inhale, rise. Exhale, fold. Reach the tail back, strong belly. Inhale, unwind. Really hit this flat spine. So feel the belly hug in to help you control the lowering. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, back to child pose. Stay here for a breath or 2. Maybe swing the hips side to side or make little movements. Maybe you'd rather split your knees apart or bring them together. Whatever works for you. Stay for 3 full rounds of breath. Enjoy it. Remembering that this is a restorative posture that you can always return to throughout your practice. If child's pose isn't right for the knees, puppy pose is always available to you. All right. We're going to come forward and into 8-limbed pose. Does that sound fun? Did you grow some limbs? All right, so to get there, we're going to keep the hips above the knees. You can tuck the toes or leave them flat, but make sure your feet feel connected to the earth. We're going to start walking the hands forward as we keep the tail lifted without dumping the ribs way down. So you want to feel a little hug here. And then we're going to try to lower chest and chin to the mat. Now, if this feels like an eternity away, feel free to use blocks to bring the earth closer to you. You could bring the chest and the chin to blocks. Or stay up into a more traditional puppy pose, where the arms are really working and lifting. But if you can, come forward a little more, drop the chest, drop the chin. So the 8 limbs that we're connecting to the mat are feet, knees, hands, that's 2, 4, 6, and chin and chest. Stay and breathe. To me, this feels releasing. But if it feels like pulling or painful, if it feels more than sensation, just come slowly forward all the way down to the mat on your belly and enjoy the feeling of the floor holding you up. Otherwise, see if you can stay here for 3 breaths and soften where you can soften. You probably don't need to effort super hard in the shoulders. One nice place to drain some effort is in the belly. So lift your pelvic floor, what the yogis call Mula Bandha. One more breath here. And then you're going to slowly come all the way to the mat. The easiest way is just to stretch your legs behind you. Let's bring our hands under the forehead, bend the knees, and windshield wiper. Nice wide legs side to side. As much as I enjoy that pose, it is work for me. I hope you found some effort and ease in the pose. One more breath. Gorgeous. All right, from here, we'll stretch the legs long. Bring the hands under the shoulders. Put a little effort in between your inner thighs. We're gonna press straight up. So you can choose to have knees down, or you can tuck the toes, lift the knees. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, lift the belly and press away from the mat. Stay here for one more breath. Whether you're in high plank or low plank, feel lots of energy, strength, vitality, and then slowly bring the knees down to the mat. Inhale. Let's stretch that right arm out from the shoulder and open the ribs toward the ceiling. Now let's thread the arm through under the left hand, coming to the back of the right shoulder and dropping the side of the head to the mat. Stay here and breathe. Maybe you bring your left hand around your back. Try to stack the shoulders and open the heart a little more. One more big inhale. And on the exhale, release that left hand if you've lifted it. Push into the left hand and the spine. So this is actually a spinal twist, but it's happening from the ribs up. Let's take the left arm out, stretch it out from the shoulder, turn it toward the ceiling, and then as you hug the navel, so you're creating space to reach that arm through, come to the back of the left shoulder and rest the head. So you should have a nice long spine here. You could take that right arm behind your back and open the shoulders a little more, presenting the heart forward. Stretch through the fingertips of that active hand on the floor. One more inhale here. And then release that right arm to press it into the ground to help you lift up with control. So we're gonna be coming into downward facing dog, the first one of class. So don't worry if it doesn't feel just right. We'll get there. So let's tuck the toes, hands under shoulders. On the exhale, we're gonna round to a big cat. So we'll draw the belly in toward the spine. We'll puff up between the shoulder blades, fanning the rib cage open toward the ceiling and letting the head relax. And then on the inhale, I'd like you to try this really slowly. Start to unwind the spine. Hang on in the abdominals as you tip your tail up and gaze forward. And then with this active tip, cover the knees and let that tailbone lead you up and back to downward facing dog. Now, it's early for me. My hamstrings are tight. My heels don't want to stretch to the ground. That's okay. Let's pedal through the heels a little bit. We're gonna work on some strength here. Hopefully it will get you out of that mind, that busy mind. Inhale, lift high on the toes. Exhale, unravel the spine to plank. Gorgeous. Inhale, bend the knees. Exhale, lift the tail up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift those heels. Exhale, really try to unravel. So from the bottom of the spine through the crown. Settle into plank. Inhale, bend the knees, hover them off the mat. Exhale, press up and back to downward facing dog. Get the weight away from your hands here a little bit. Your hands ground you, but we're shifting that chest back toward the thighs. One more time like that. Inhale, lift the heels. Exhale, from your center, unravel. Inhale, soften the knees. Exhale, up and back. Maybe pedal the feet. Lovely. One more inhale here. And then on the exhale, bring the knees to the mat. Soften back to child's pose. Perhaps you'd like to turn your palms up and stretch the wrists out. One more breath here. Come on up to your knees. Let's just really give the wrists some attention. So hug your elbows toward each other, clasping your hands, and trying to keep the forearms touching. See if you can circle the wrists. Take your time. So some of our joints get a lot of attention. Some not so much. The wrists tend to be one that we ignore here and there. Come back to them. So I want you to feel like they've gotten a little rest. All right. One more breath here. Let's come back to that table. Tucking the toes. Pushing the ground away as we round to cat. Just when you think you can't get any rounder, see if you can hug the navel in and find just an inch more. And then inhale, really slowly start to unwind. Lift that tail with help from the belly. Cover those knees, send your weight up and back to downward facing dog. Okay, from here, we're gonna breathe the right leg up in space, keeping that knee bent and the heel reaching in toward the glutes. And then as we press down into the right shoulder, we're gonna open that right hip. So you wanna be sort of square in the shoulders and ribs and really let the hip open. Get the weight back toward the left leg. Some of you might enjoy staying here in a static fashion. Other people might enjoy circling that leg. You do what's right for you. All right. Maybe if you're circling, take it in the other direction. Let that right hip open. Okay, from here, you're gonna say, what? We're gonna take that right foot and step it forward. We're gonna rock onto the edge of the left foot and open up to side plank. That's it. So we have that top foot bent and sort of kickstand in front of us. First, we're gonna stretch across the chest, arm to arm. One more breath here, and then reach the arm overhead and arch the ribs up toward the ceiling. Big breath in. One more breath here. And then you're gonna bring your hand to the mat, step the right foot back. Stay here and see if you can lower onto the elbows. Keeping your hands apart, wrists apart. Inhale here. Now shift your weight forward and see if you can lower your hips to Sphinx. If your elbows didn't magically line up under your shoulders, feel free to make that adjustment so that your shoulders roll back and down. Your legs are active and your heart gets to stretch forward. If you can really imagine sort of shining energy out the heart. Knowing that sometimes in a stressful time, it might be healthier and more authentic to live leading from the heart than from the mind. One more breath here. And then gently lower to the mat. Just bring your hands back under your shoulders. Come up and back for child's pose, but maybe we'll make it embryo pose. So we'll wrap the hands behind to cup the heels and relax the head to the mat. Stay and breathe. If you have lost the breath, which is very easy to do in our efforting in yoga, see if you can return to the breath in these positions that we hold. So draw everything back into the breath and sort of recommit to letting the breath lead the exercise. Of course, we have another side to do. I'm going to turn around. So come back to table as you're ready. On the exhale, push into your cow. Excuse me, your cat. Drop your chin toward your chest. Rounding as much as you can. See if you've created more space between the ribs this time into the intercostal muscles. Now, tuck those toes. Inhale, unwind your spine and lift your tail behind you. Cover those knees. Press up and back to downward facing dog. Make sure you feel comfortable in your down dog. Remembering that it's never really about how straight the knees are, but more about how high the tail lifts. Let's bring the left leg up in the air, bringing that heel in toward the glutes. Pressing down through the left hand and opening the left hip. You can stay still here or create those circles. Imagine the femur bone just sort of rolling around in the hip socket. Try a few in each direction if you're circling. One more breath here. And then if you recall, we're going to step that foot forward. We're going to turn to the edge of the right foot and come up for side plank. So first we really stretch fingertips to fingertips and try to find a true side plank. Keep your bottom foot really active. That helps. One more breath here. Building strength, lifting the bottom rib cage and trusting into the hand on the floor, and then arching those ribs and side bending. Round down through that front foot. Feel all four corners here. One more big breath. And then lift back up to the ceiling. Come into high plank, stepping that left foot back. Good, and then seeing if you can control your way down into elbow plank. And it's important that your hands stay apart here so that when we shift forward and lower down, you have space for Sphinx. I don't know about you, but this feels nice after that plank work. So imagine your heart shining forward once more. Really trying not to round. Sphinx is not a shape in which we want to lose the neck. One more breath here. And then lower to the mat. Bring the hands under the shoulders. Exhale up and back, child's pose. Or embryo pose if you wish. Stay here for 3 breaths. And we're going to get ready to move on to some standing poses. All right. On the inhale, we'll sweep the arms back by the hips and rise up. We're going to set the shoulders in their place, turning the pinkies forward, and then stepping one foot forward, then the other foot forward into a little chair. So stay here. So chair used to really, I felt like it was always working against chair. So part of it for me is finding the long low back. It's getting the weight in my heels, but drawing lots of energy to the midline. And then I had to really find some shoulder strength to truly have chair with extended arms. You can always make a shift here though. One breath here. And then exhale, fold to the ground, bring the hands to the mat. Step back to high plank. Bend those knees. Lift up and back to downward facing dog. We're going to start tiptoeing the feet forward. And then we're going to tuck the right leg behind the left. We're going to get a different kind of stretch in forward fold here. Now, because it's different and it's more into the IT band, you may find blocks are your friends here. You can always place your hands on your legs as long as they're not on the knees. So let's forward fold here. If flexion isn't right for you, you're going to hold this shape with a nice flat back, in which case you probably will want some blocks. Just something to bring the floor closer to you. Stay here for 3 breaths. So yes, we're going to lengthen the hamstrings here, but we're also going to take that stretch to the outside of the thigh. A very classically tight place for active people. One more breath here. And then we're going to lift halfway and release that right leg so it's parallel to the left, maybe no wider than your hips. So we're going to really find flat back. We're going to do that by lifting the belly away from the thighs, drawing the pelvic floor up. And then I'm going to ask you to employ Uddiyana Bandha, which is to really hug your ribs into your spine, almost like you're sucking them in. You can have a slight bend in your knee. What's important here is that from crown to tail, you're super flat. So in this hip hinge, we're going to stretch the arms out from the shoulders. Exhale, we'll cross the right arm over the left. Inhale, stretch open. Exhale, cross left over right. Be mindful that your cervical spine is long as you open and cross. Moving through something sticky. And with every exhale, committing again to the pelvic floor work, to the rib cage integration. Inhaling, exhaling. One more time, inhaling and exhaling. Now this time we're going to inhale and take the arms overhead, which should increase work, the back body. And we're going to push into the feet and rise. Sweep your arms to the outsides of your hips and find mountain pose. Palms forward, big toes touch. Heels can be apart a little bit. Close your eyes again and find your breath, your ujjayi breathing, your working breath. And just notice how you feel now. For me, yoga is so powerful because it takes me right into the body, right into the moment, right out of my busy mind. Notice here if one side of your body feels a little different than the other. That would be perfectly normal since we haven't done the other side. One more big breath here. And release. Inhale, let's sweep up and gaze up. Exhale, let's bow with a flat back over the legs. Coming to blocks with the ground, this time we tuck the left leg behind the right and forward fold. Oh, every side is so different. Every day is so different. You may be able to grab onto the legs and draw yourself in more fully, or you might need to practice that flat back, whatever's right for you. See if you can feel the stretch on the outside of the left thigh now. And ask yourself, where am I hanging on here? Am I afraid to surrender the neck? Am I trying to back out of the stretch? I would say keep your weight in your heels more than your toes for this. And keep using that breath to help you find softness and folding. One more big breath here. And then we'll lift the heart a little bit and we'll uncross the legs, finding that hip hinge again. So soften the knees enough so that the back feels really long, almost an up dog back. This time, as we hug the belly up and bring the ribs together, we'll reach the right arm overhead and the left arm behind us and then switch. So bend the elbows and push through space, hug into the spine and push through space. Again, keeping your hips stacked over your ankles, and then your hips, shoulders, and ears in one line. One more time. To each side. Last one here. And then with both arms overhead, we use the strength from the backs of the legs, the back of the back, and the belly to rise up. Mountain pose once more. Return to your breath. We're going to get really into our standing work now. So just notice how the body feels again. So we're ready to move through our flow into standing down. So at the top of your mat, inhale, breathe and gaze up. Exhale, pull your hands to heart center and find the flat back as far as you can until you have to round over the legs. Inhale, lift halfway, find flat back again. Exhale, plant the hands and step back to high plank. You can stay here and shift forward or lower the knees and really control your lowering to the mat. Inhale, lift up to cobra or up dog. Exhale, up and back to downward facing dog. Inhale, stretch your right leg high. Exhale, step it forward and through. Actually, turn around for you. There you go. And then we're going to pivot the back heel down and pull the arms up to warrior two. Good. So alignment's important in warrior two. You want the front heel to sort of dissect the back arch. I'm going to sit into that lunge and let the femur bone roll open, round into the back edge of the back foot. So from here, we're going to add a little twist. So we're going to take this back arm, Sweep it around and forward, almost like you were going to clap, and then draw the elbow back into opening. Let your gaze follow the hand. So inhale, exhale, inhale. Stay with the lunge. Exhale. Inhale. Move to your breath's pace. Exhale. Feel the shoulders coming together toward the spine. Last one. Inhale. And exhale. Or just turn your front palm up and really slowly, and like the arms are connected, come up and over. Bend into that front knee a little more. Stretch out at the right side body. That's it. One more big breath. Inhale here. Exhale to come up. Gorgeous. From here, we're going to sink into that lunge even deeper and hook that right arm on the thigh. Breathe the left arm straight up first. And then stretch it overhead. Palm comes down to face the ground. Stay here for one more big breath. See if you can sweep that other arm up to join like you're holding a big beach ball overhead. One more breath. Now the same energy used to rise from your hip hinge, you're going to use to rise here. Lifting up, bringing hands through heart center. So we're going to stay in somewhat of a wide stance with the toes turned out. Inhale, we'll breathe the arms up overhead. We're going to turn toward the right, kicking the left hip back and folding flat over the right leg. So you want this knee to be long but not locked. Stretch the arms overhead. You want to get a nice hamstring stretch behind the right thigh. But if it's too much for you to have arms overhead, sweep them back by your hips. That's where we're headed next anyway. Gorgeous. One more breath. Then bend into that right knee deeply. Clasp your hands behind your low back for humble warrior. So you bring the crown of the head down inside the knee. Your hands can lift up, but they can also just reach behind you. Try not to effort through the shoulder too much. One more big breath here. Try not to back out of the lunge. Gently release the hands. Spin that back leg forward and lift the back heel into crescent toe warrior. That's it. Lots of energy in both legs. Bend into the front leg. Press through the back heel. One more breath in. Bend that back knee and step back foot forward to stand. So we'll repeat on the other side, stay at the top of your mat. Inhale, breathe up, gaze up. Exhale, flat back, bow of the legs until you must round, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway, find your flat back. Exhale, fold, plant your hands, step back to high plank. So either stay here and shift or bring the knees down, hugging your elbows in to lower with control to the mat. Inhale, lift that chest. Exhale, up and back, downward facing dog. So this time it's the left foot that presses up into the air. You're gonna hug the pelvic floor up and the ribs in as you step it forward to the front hand. I'm gonna roll that back heel down and open for warrior two. Good. Breathe here. Remembering again that it is important to be aligned here, well aligned. Try not to let your knee fall in. Keep reaching it toward the pinky toe. And lift your arms as though you had wings. Good. We're gonna add those twists. So we'll sweep the back arm forward. Inhaling. Exhaling to pull across the chest and stretch. Remembering to let the gaze follow the work. Inhaling, sweep forward. Exhale, pull back and stretch. Inhaling forward. Exhaling back, stay with your lunge. 2 more times, inhaling forward. Exhaling back. Last time, inhaling forward. Exhaling back. Flipping that front palm and slowly coming up and back. Pressing even more deeply into the lunge. Gaze can be up. Breathe into the shape. Enjoy the lengthening of the left side body. One more breath here. Strongly lifting up to hook that left hand on left thigh and take the right arm up and over by the ear. So from your fingertips down through the outside edge of your foot should make one long line. Open your shoulders and ribs here. Commit to that lunge. And if you can, breathe the bottom arm up as well. One more big breath here. And then use your strong back body to rise. So we want to come back to that wide-legged, turned out position. You can feel free to reorganize. Inhale, breathe up. This time we're going to the left. So we're going to start to draw a little circle as we kick the right hip out. We're going to stretch over that left leg, remembering the knee should be a little soft, so you should feel in control, not settling into the joint. Stay here and breathe. Reach your heart toward your leg. And if it's too much again, bring the hands behind the back. Get a nice stretch behind the thigh. One more breath here. And then bend into that front knee. Hands come to clasp behind the low back. Let the heart lead your way down. And then decide if you'd like to lift the arms or not. Remembering that slowing our mind and getting out of busy thoughts requires a bit of humility. It requires us to say, perhaps I don't know everything. Perhaps I don't always know what's best. Perhaps I'm not always in control. One more big breath here. And then we'll release those arms. We'll pivot the back heel up off the mat, squaring everything and lifting to crescent toe warrior. One more big breath here. And then bend that back leg, press into the front foot, step forward, and rise. Finding your last mountain pose of class. Oh. Many of you know my favorite pose for the juxtaposition between effort and ease is mountain pose. Using just enough effort to feel solid, strong, and grounded, but knowing where we can relax. Such a balance. One more breath here. And then we're going to get ready to vinyasa down to the mat. So when you're ready, come to the top of your mat one more time. Inhale to breathe up. Exhale to bow over those legs. Release. Surrender. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold and plant your hands. Step back to high plank. This is your final plank. We're not going to shift forward and through. So stay and hold. Feel that pelvic floor lift and the ribs hug in the Mula and the Uddiyana Bandha. One more breath here. And then release your knees and come on back. We're going to come to a seat. You may want a block or a pillow to squeeze between your knees. Do a tiny bit more center work. So find your sitting bones and feel this nice tall lift in the spine. Make sure your feet aren't too far away from you. And on an exhalation, roll the hips underneath you to find activation in the belly and a lengthening of the low back. Also helps you shift back in the pelvis so you can lift your legs, which is going to be helpful here. So we're going to start with a little knee hug. We're not really trying to get round. We're just trying to hug the knees and lift the heart. From here, if you can, you're going to exhale, extend legs and arms into a full boat. Inhale, stay. Then exhale, bend the knees, hold on to the shins. Exhale, reach out. Good. Inhale, stay. Exhale, bend, hug. One more time. Inhale, stay. Exhale, bend. Now squeezing on that block, you're going to rock to the left hip, reaching your arms to the right. Let's make a little genie arm. So make sure your weight feels like it's shifted. So you've rolled the hips and the ribs. One more breath. Release, come back to center. Hug those shins. Continue to squeeze whatever's between your knees. And then list over onto your right hip. Twist to the left. Little genie arms. One more hold. Feel lots of heat building. We don't have sun outside, we'll make our own. One more breath. Back to center. And release. Nice job. All right. Little stretch. This should feel nice. We're going to come into mermaid. So let's sweep the feet over toward the right side of the mat. You've got this little triangle here, if that works for you. So on the inhale, we'll breathe that right arm up, setting it into the shoulder socket. On the exhale, we'll come up and over, and I love to drop my elbow here so I can really arch the ribs to the spine. You don't have to. What we do want to be mindful of here is that we're not rounding. That's actually coming next. So here, let's try to open, if anything, the heart toward the ceiling. You can gaze forward, or whatever's comfortable for your neck. Now from here, we are going to lift that elbow. We're going to exhale, bring that hand toward the other. Maybe it only comes to the edge of the mat and round between the shoulder blades. You can let the chin drop toward the chest a little bit. You want this to feel like a nice stretch for the upper back. One more breath. And then come back to that rainbow shape, lift up, and just tuck that arm in your lap as you side bend the other way. This is one of the first exercises that really made me fall in love with Pilates was mermaid. Try to keep your hips rounded. That's hard for me as I'm tight in the hips. Gently release. Now from here, we're going to come down onto the left side of the body. We're reclining big toe pose. So you can actually come all the way down if you want, but you're going to find balancing is an issue here. Luckily, you're close to the floor. You're going to bend that top leg and see if you can grab the big toe. Now, if you can't grab the big toe, you can certainly use a strap, or you could always hold behind the thigh. Now from here, we want to keep that bottom leg active. So we're going to press through the heel of the leg we're laying on. And then what's happening here is we're stretching the top leg, but really balancing on the side body, on the left side body. So sometimes people roll over when this happens. Okay, make sure there's nothing dangerous around you. One more breath here. And then release that top leg. You might want to give the knee a hug, releasing the hip, stretching it long. And we'll swivel to the other side. You could roll right over if you know what you're doing. But I'll face you. So set your mermaid up well. Again, try to ground those hips. If you have a tight hip, it's going to tend to want to lift away from the mat. Just attempt to be even in the hips. Let's breathe that left arm up. You can drop the right elbow if you want and side bend up and over. I like to really focus my breath into the upper part of the lungs, the lobes of the lung that are on this side. Almost feels like a place that breath doesn't reach without effort. One more of those deep breaths. And then push the hand that's on the mat into the mat to rise. And then we turn and round the back, stretching the pinky finger toward the floor. Let the neck be relaxed here. Really round, remembering that the chin can dip into the chest a little bit. One more breath here. And then come back to that sort of rainbow shape. Come up, right the spine, bring that left arm down, and side bend over to the left. I just wonder, why do we go both directions? But the hip stretches shift around when we keep the legs in a static position and then change the lateral bend. One more breath. And gently release. If you have a block, it's going to be handy for our final position before rest, which is a nice reclining twist. So I'm going to take a block and put it on the side of my mat, opposite the leg I'm working. So right now I have the block on my right side, and I'm going to roll down to the mat and hug my left knee in. Don't worry so much about this right leg yet. I'm just trying to open up the hip here. Now, I've got my block at the ready. My right hand is going to guide my left knee across the body as my left arm comes out to anchor against it. And now I'm going to have to play with where the block goes. I want my knee to be really supported here so that I can relax into this twist without feeling like I have to hold my leg up. So you can have more than one block here. The block has different settings as well. So do what helps you feel comfortable. And then stretch that left arm out from your shoulder and gaze back toward that left palm. Stay here for 3 rounds of breath. And if your mind is starting to wander again, come back to that image of linking breaths to wiping the thoughts away. Keep rolling this left shoulder back and down as you present the heart forward. And you get a stretch maybe across the chest, even into the armpit, as well as the spinal twist. One more breath here. And then gently unwind the spine, moving the block over onto the other side of the body. Hugging the right knee into the chest. Again, your left leg can be bent or straight while we get ready here. I'm going to sort of release the soft tissue in the front of the hip. And now we stretch the left leg long. Use the left hand to draw across as the right palm comes out and up from the shoulder. I'm going to twist open. Make it slow. If you need to turn your gaze to get the block steady, go ahead. And then look backward toward that open palm. Continue to settle the shoulder down the back. And truly make sure that the twisting side leg feels supported. And then being aware of the breath is going to help you decide how easy it is for you to surrender into this rotation. Every breath, with every exhale, I find a new little spot where I'm still holding on, still trying to manage, still trying to control. Oh, sometimes I just need to get out of my own way. One more breath here. And then gently release. Hug your knees in toward your chest. I'm going to invite you to take any final asana you wish. I know people love happy baby at the end of class. A nice supported bridge might be nice with the block under the hips. Or if you have 2 blocks, you know I love supported fish. With 1 block, just settling at the bottom of the tips of the shoulder blades, and the other block catching the weight of the skull for a nice upper spinal extension and chest opener. If you're not using any props, knock knees can just be a nice restful asana before we go into Shavasana. That's where your feet come wide as the mat, your inner thighs touch as you medially rotate, and your toes angle in. Or of course, Supta Baddha Konasana is nice too, with soles of the feet together, butterfly stretch. Stay in this asana of your choosing for 3 more breaths, please. Or as long as you feel you need to before settling into your final resting shape. Perhaps this is your final resting shape. But if not, you could always come into corpse pose, which would be gently removing any props, stretching your legs to the corners of the mat, gathering your shoulder blades underneath you to present your heart forward, and walking your palms away from your hips. And then see if you can find the breath again here. If you have time, rest, breathe, enjoy.